Hello, welcome back on the Outlier. We're back to a carburetor problem. We had a little bit of a video where we messed with it. I had already done all the work and kind of took it through it. But it has to be done again. Gonna have to do the full Monty on this carburetor this time. The acceleration jet is still very, very clogged. And so I'm gonna have to soak it. Sometimes this one, it's gonna take maybe an overnight soaking. So we're back to the carburetor, and I'll take you through all the parts of the carburetor, how to take it apart, how to pull all the jets, what all the parts are. So, like we said last time, we're here with the manifold, the carburetor, and your intake air box. So I've already loosened up all the bolts. I'm here filming by myself. My brother is visiting his girlfriend, and they're in Las Vegas right now. So you can unscrew that. Like I said last time, it is easier really just to unclip it. It unclips off the front. So we've unclipped that. Now we unclip our choke, and then we can pull we'll pull all the bolts out here. So take all the bolts off. And we are hanging over the side of the ocean here, so we don't want to drop any of these screws. Not in the mood to go swim right now. And now this whole assembly can come out. I'm gonna have to set you down for 1 second. There's a clip on the fuel line here and a clip on this fuel line for the accelerator pump. So I'm gonna take those two off. So I'll do that real quick. So I need both hands. So I'm gonna pause you for a second. I'll be right back. All right, we've got the carburetor off. So this is what the entire assembly looks like right here. So there's your air intake box. Just has a little screen on it. Little air intake box. Your choke assembly that we took off right there. So your choke, and then the actual accelerator right there, and your accelerator pump, which we can if we have fuel in there, we could look inside there and test it, and it shoots a jet of fuel in there. The reason for the accelerator pump is when you roll on the throttle, you have a power lag and you're not getting enough fuel. It takes a minute. Sorry about that, ran out of storage on my phone. So and now we're ready to take the carburetor apart so we can just work on the carb and the parts that we need to work on. So there's just two bolts. This bolt runs all the way through and holds everything. There's just two of them. There's one on the other side, and I've already taken those apart. So we'll just take the entire air box off here, and you have two seals. There's a paper seal and a rubber gasket. So we want to be careful with those. Don't want to tear those because we can't find parts. We'll get that one in a second. Can't get parts here to the island. Trying to do this with one hand here. So I can't remember if I told you what the hose was for up there. That's gases that didn't get taken into the intake, runs back, just recycles them back through there. There. So our air box, these two items do not need to be cleaned. They're, as we can see, they're fairly clean, not a problem. This is the thing that needs to be cleaned, and it's the inside that needs to be cleaned. So our little accelerator pump, and it comes apart real easy. There's just 4 screws right here, and this entire bottom will come off. So what I'll do is I'll take those 4 screws off, and then we'll show you inside the carburetor. I'm sorry about that, ran out of memory on my phone. So again, the air box, the choke, and the accelerator, push down on the accelerator pump. So the purpose of the accelerator pump, when you roll the throttle on, fuel has to pass through the jets and get vaporized, so it mixes with the air, and for a time you don't have enough fuel, so that accelerator pump actually shoots a jet of fuel up in there, and that takes up for that lag. And so that's what the accelerator does. And then you have the intake manifold. This hose coming off the top of the intake manifold, this is your EPA emissions. It takes emissions, runs anything that doesn't get sucked into the intake valve, runs it back up through the intake, and so it recycles. So you burn more fuel. So this thing will barely use any fuel at all. And so some of the adjustment screws on it. This is your idle adjustment screw. This adjusts your. This is your low idle. Yeah, no, this is. I'm sorry. This is your idle adjustment screw, and this is just. They're both idle adjustments. This is a bigger idle adjustment screw. This will do a major change on it, and this will do a little smaller change on it. And they both are connected. Both connect with that. So those both, there's like, I guess, a high and a low, or low and a high idle adjustments on it. So there's that. We'll take this thing apart, and again, I have to have my hands free. It's just 2 bolts. Take these 2 bolts right here, and then we'll separate the carb from the intake manifold and the air box. And so let me take these 2 bolts off. All right, back again. Sorry for having to go back and forth. Working by myself here today. And I don't have a proper stand. The storage card requires a computer for the camera to put it on a tripod so I can show you all this. I don't have a card to format the card for the camera, so I'm having to use my phone. Alright, so now we take off, we can remove this is the idle side. We can remove that. There's a tiny jet down inside there. You can't see that. That actually gets screwed out, and then with the acceleration jet right there. So there's the acceleration jet. Then we pull that out. There's the little needle valve that we were talking about. Got to be careful with that. That just pops right off. And so that needle valve just sits down in there and allows fuel to fill up the fuel bowl. So that's all our parts. Now if you take a screwdriver again and pull, this one should just fall right out, and this one actually screws out. So I'm going to take those 2 out next, and then we're going to soak this carburetor overnight in a nice little vat of Chem Dip carburetor parts cleaner. So we'll be dropping the whole assembly down inside there. Before you put any of your carburetor parts in there, make sure all of the gaskets are off. You don't want any rubber inside there. For as long as I'm leaving in there, it'll eat all the rubber up. So make sure you have that stuff taken off as well. So I'll get a screwdriver out here and we'll move this jet. You just need a little, it takes a little tiny screwdriver. I might be able to do it with one hand. Let's see. I might could do this. It's coming. There it is. So there's our idle jet. It's really, you may not be able to see it here on the video. I'll hold it up close as I can. You can see the little tiny holes there. That's what gets carbon inside of it. You can see it every time I roll it around there. Those are clean, and that is not a problem on this boat, or on this engine. It idles just fine. In fact, that's all it does. The next jet should just come right out, but I had a problem with it last time. It had a bunch of carbon down there. It may come out easily this time. I'm not sure. It doesn't look like it. Yeah, there it goes. That's supposed to, so that's better. It wasn't popping out of there. Actually, I had to really force it to come out. That's almost out. I don't go back in there. So that means it's really dirty, because it should just fall right out of there, and it's not falling out of there. There we go. Alright, so there's our acceleration jet, and we can see we have bigger holes on that one. So those holes are clear, so that's not a problem. You can see and you can see this little smaller holes at the bottom. They all seem to be relatively clear. So our problem is in the, I'll have to look at that closer. Our problem is down inside the actual delivery chambers themselves. As you can see, we have a bunch of just corrosion. So we're going to let that sit in the parts cleaner, but I need to pull off this top piece here. So maybe I can do that with oops. Alright, so again, this is just allows overflow from the bowl if your needle jet fails on your float. And you have this fancy little gasket right here. So you can see all the little chambers where it allows that to go through. So now we've gotten all the rubber pieces except for this one piece right here. And we'll have to work on that one. We'll have to pry that one out of there. We'll get all these, all the rubber off of it so we don't mess any of that up, and we're just going to dip it in our Chem Dip and let it sit there for, we'll try 4 hours and give that a shot. And hopefully that'll fix it and we'll have a carburetor that's running. So, wish me luck.